All right, we're going to get started in just a moment here. I'd like to bring the Planning Board meeting of January 4th, 2016 to order. The three items on the agenda this evening: we have a special permit request for School Street, we have a rezoning petition, and we have a special permit request for Varney Street. The first petition is old business, and it is for a public hearing for a special permit at 167 School Street. The applicant has requested that to withdraw the application without prejudice. He was in contact with DPD and indicated that he was going to have at least a couple more months need a couple months to work on this plan. So it was the petitioner felt it was perhaps best to withdraw it at this time. So what is the wish of the body?
I move we accept the request to withdraw at this point.
I'll second.
Okay, and that's without prejudice. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a rezone petition under new business for 9 Magnolia Street and 8 and 20 Stockbridge Ave. A public hearing will be held to hear all interested persons relative to a proposed zoning amendment to extend the existing neighborhood business zone district to include the area of 8 and 20 Stockbridge Ave and 9 Magnolia Street. The area is presently zoned SSF, suburban single family, and is located adjacent to 149 Pawtucket Boulevard. I just want to remind everyone that this is a recommendation from the Planning Board to the City Council. It is a non-binding vote, and it is also a vote on the request for the rezone and not a particular project. May I hear from the applicant, please?
133 Market Street, representing the petitioners, Russell and Michael Hamill, who are the owners of the property. I'd also like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. This is a petition of the Hamill brothers, the Hamill family. This family has operated a business at 149 Pawtucket Boulevard since 1960. They've operated an auto body repair shop in this location for the last 55 years. They have seen tremendous positive changes along Pawtucket Boulevard as it relates to neighborhood business over the last 50 years, and they've been a part of that. Part of that running a very pristine professional business. And with that, what has happened over these years with the Belgrade Boathouse, the Sampras Pavilion, the activities of the community, the activities of the university along the river, they've been a part of that all along. And how they've been a part of that is an important component of this request for a zoning change, is to allow them to continue to run this professional business in the manner that they have done so for the last 50 years. And I'd like to call attention to the board that one of their key positive components of their business is that on the weekends, the vehicles that are parked out in the front of the Hamill's Automotive Repair Shop are taken and are secured within their premises, within their building. This is important for two reasons. Number one, for security reasons for their customers, and number two, it takes them off the lot into the buildings so that their lot can be used by the public. It's an extremely busy area from the springtime right through the summer, and their lot is used by their consent for the public for parking. Just for every event that comes along there, they allow it to be used for parking. So what they've done is they take their vehicles on the weekend, place them inside their building. Even as this weekend, there was a New Year's marathon that was run. So they called them and asked them if they could use it to stage it over there, and they did. So they allowed that to happen. So part of what they do is, with their neighborhood business over there, is they contribute to the neighborhood, contribute to the fabric of the community, and they want to continue to do so to make this continue to be a viable, thriving business. And the reason for this zoning change is so that they could change the zoning to extend it to the 2 lots behind their business that they own. One is a lot on Stockbridge, another is a lot on Magnolia. Now, let me make it clear about how they run their business. They operate from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They do not operate on the weekends. They do not have vehicles towed there after hours. They do not tow vehicles. They do not have a towing license. They don't own a tow truck. They take their customers' vehicles and repair them. But by asking for this zoning change, it will allow them to use the lot behind them to park vehicles. Now, by doing that, the vehicles, their business is bursting at the seams now, and they can't contain all the vehicles in the building. They would like to change the zoning so they could use the area in the back to park those vehicles. They're not asking to add an additional structure. They're not seeking to build anything. This board knows that if they did seek to do anything like that, they'd have to come before the board for any type of site plan review. Along with that, they'd like to use the existing single-family home on Magnolia, which is rented out at the present time. They would use that for offices. The building or the single-family home on Stockbridge, which is in a dilapidated state, they would knock down and use that area for parking. They would also work very closely with DPD to make a very tasteful fence and vegetation along there to some tasteful landscaping to have a significant buffer with the neighbors that exist there. They have always been good neighbors. They have always been good neighbors. They have always had good cooperation with the neighbors in that neighborhood. In all these years that they have worked, they have had no complaints. They're not looking to run a 24-hour towing service. They're not looking to have cars drop there after hours at all hours of the night. They're not looking to light up the premises. That's not going to happen. What they're using for that rear lot is to take it and to park the vehicles back there and to have commercial use of that area in the back. They may have a storage container back there that allows them to have a storage container there for their use to run their business. So what I'd have to say is that this family has contributed to the character of the neighborhood. Everybody in this neighborhood knows when they purchase their house in the neighborhood surrounding the Hamill brothers that they purchased their house in a district that borders a neighborhood business. The Hamill brothers have been there since 1960. And part of this zoning change is to help this family continue to run their business, to continue to allow them to be a vibrant family business, and by doing so, and by doing that and running a good business, and by doing that, they contribute to the character of the community, and they're not a detriment to the community. They're have a positive impact on the community. So if you have any questions at all, be happy to answer them. Mr. Russell Hamill is here, along with his brother who operate the business.
Do you have anyone else to speak on behalf of the petitioner, Counselor? Otherwise, I'll open it up to the public. Okay, if...
I'm in favor of it.
If you're speaking on behalf, I can open up to the public. If anyone who would like to speak in favor, just please give your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Anthony Manella. I live at 20 Magnolia Street, which is directly across from the Hamill Brothers Body Shop. And I'm in favor of them to have it.
Very good. Anything else you want to add to that, sir? Or?
I mean, I know what it's like. I worked at a dealership before, and I know what it's like, that their business is growing, and each night they have a lot of cars left outside because they can't fit any more in, excuse me, and I know what it's like to have to move cars in and out every single day, and like he said, when they have activities on the boulevard, motorcycle night, car night, that parking lot is full and all their cars are still outside. And I'm in favor of him getting that fence like he wants to do it, so he can put all those cars there, and they're not, you don't have to move them in and out every day, and you don't have to worry about them getting damaged, the cars that are left outside that are damaged.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anyone else speak in favor? Counselor.
Mr. Chairman, board members, George Cielides, Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell. Interestingly, I'm here this evening in two capacities. Number one, as co-counsel for Mr. Theodoro, who I think has laid out the case pretty well anyway. I do want to comment, though, that I have a particular knowledge and feel for that neighborhood based on the fact that way, way, way back in ancient history in the 70s, I don't think too many of you people, maybe Mr. Malovich knows this, my family and I and my best friend growing up, a fellow by the name of Edward Dick, owned Peter Pan Drive-In. I don't know if you're familiar with that location. Used to be Pete's on the Boulevard at one point. So this was in the 70s, and we were pretty active and always available, and I went up and down that boulevard quite often.
You had great potato wedges, too, Counselor.
That's right. And these folks were top drawer. Whenever there was an activity at the park, whenever there was anything going on, the Hamill brothers, the Hamill family was always there. And by the way, Edward Dick, if you'll give me a break, I'd like to give a shout out to Edward, who's at home very ill these days. One of my oldest and closest friends went to the Oakland school together with him. It's called the LeBlanc School today. You might know where that is, on Wentworth Avenue, and we've remained friends for years. So Edward, get better, please. Anyway, I digress. So I just thought I wanted to say that message on the new year. These folks continued on. The other capacity I'm here is I'm a direct abutter to this property. I own a parcel on Pawtucket Boulevard. I've owned it for over 20 years, immediately adjacent to this property. And these people have done a wonderful job, been great neighbors in that respect in every way, too. I think George has made it clear. They don't intend to build here. They don't intend to expand here. And even if they did, as you all well know, they have to come before your board and any other board with regard to site plan review, et cetera, et cetera. They just want to have a better setup in the operation of their mechanical operation and their cars and whatever. So I'm here, as I said, in two manners, asking you to give a recommendation to the city council for this zoning change.
Counselor, the land that you own, is it vacant land that's on Stockbridge?
It's on vacant land on Pawtucket Boulevard. If you're looking at Stockbridge, the lot immediately to the right is owned by the Hamills. The next one over is owned by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That paved area?
I didn't hear that.
That paved area on the corner of the Boulevard and Stockbridge?
I'm sorry. My hearing aids are getting worse and worse in my old
If we're
age.
looking, if we're facing Hamill Brothers Garage.
Right.
Where would you be?
It's on the right-hand side.
To the right, but
Right.
beyond where they have it paved?
You
Right,
have,
where,
right.
like where Avalon is, or?
Do you
Yeah.
own the corner
Okay.
lot? The corner lot?
Yeah. Okay, all right. I'm just trying to get the bearings on that. Okay,
Right.
good. Thank you.
Yeah. I actually brought a copy of the zoning map, but I don't think you need to see that, but, okay, very good. So, that's it. Thank you very much. Happy
Thank
New
you,
Year.
thank you, Counselor.
Could I add one more item? This is one thing that we had discussed earlier with my clients, is that, if they're able to get this zoning extension here, it would free up an area in the front of the building, and that area along Pawtucket Boulevard, which is now all curbing along Pawtucket Boulevard, that's something that they would consider doing some strip of landscaping over there. I think it would have a much better sight line, and it would beautify the area. So that's something that they would consider doing, because it would free up that portion of the front. They would be able to move the cars in the back. So,
Okay, Counselor. Anyone else would like to speak in favor? In favor? If none, I'd like to open it up for anyone that would like to speak in opposition or just speak in general, having some concerns. If none, please give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Al Saber. My address is 33 Dunbar Avenue, a couple of streets over from the property we're talking about. And let me just, before I state my concern, let me just say I do want to reiterate to both councilors, these gentlemen have run a very efficient, top-notch operation. It's been very clean. I've never heard a bad word about the business. My parents, for years, would bring their vehicles there. I knew their dads and uncles, Billy, Ray, Paul. I've known them all for years. I recently moved back in 9 years ago to this address where I was born and brought up in, after a short stint over in the Acre. I absolutely love the neighborhood. And you've answered a bunch of questions that I had concerns about in a positive nature, so for that I'm grateful. But I have concerns that I'm not in favor of extending this zone for business for the simple reason and I'm sure that the neighbors would I would very much appreciate, even if I have no final say in it, that I'm not going to have a stone wall or a chain link fence. I'm going to have vegetables. Vegetables? Did you say vegetation? I'm making fun of the council. I'm sorry. It's going to be aesthetically pleasing, and then to say that the front of the building along the curb would be enhanced too. Again, it sounds like something that the Hamels would do. It really does. And my apologies, gentlemen. I just don't like to see another buffer disappear between an existing business owned, and I have no idea what the families. I went around and talked to neighbors, but I couldn't talk to an abutter because the time I went out, nobody answered the doors, or maybe they thought I was a shady character. I don't know, but I just hate to see this business backed up. And in all honesty, there's a gentleman who will abut this proposed property, who I've talked to on a regular basis. He did work for me a few years back. He wants to come before you in the near future and do the same thing. So I equate it to weeds in the grass. If you continue to not do anything about it, it's going to continue to take over the area. Now, this person abuts the Magnolia Street property, and he wants to do the same thing, and he's hoping that this goes through. Why he isn't here tonight is beyond me, but maybe he's over with Trump. But I'm just not in favor, and I'm in a catch-22 because I've known the family for years. My first car went there. My first used car went there. And I've never heard anybody say that, they took advantage of them or anything like that. And like I said, the business is always clean. And this gentleman is right. Counsel, you're right. The lot is emptied, and it's clean. They leave at 5 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, it's empty. There are no fenders or tires or anything there. I have nothing but good things to say about the Hamels. It's just that from a city standpoint, I just fear the removal of another piece of suburban property. So with that, I thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Or any concerns? If none, close that. Well, before I close that section of the public hearing, I do have a communication to read into the record that was forwarded from the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council. They actually had their annual meeting this evening, and they have their election of officers, so no one could be here this evening, but they did want this read into the record. It says, "Dear Joe, I would respectfully like to ask for the following letter to be read into the minutes and presented at the planning board meeting. PCC cannot be in attendance tonight, but would like to have our opinion expressed in regards to the rezone petition for 9 Magnolia Street, 8 and 20 Stockbridge Ave. Dear planning board members, there is a delicate balance in Pawtuckaville in maintaining a residential single-family suburban zone, as well as having zones for hospitals, nursing homes, and UMass Lowell, plus various businesses. Pawtucketville citizens have been champions of supporting and maintaining suburban single-family neighborhood character and quality of life for residents, while we share the neighborhood with the Lowell General Hospital, one of the city's largest employers, as well as University of Lowell, Duville Manor, and other businesses. Changing an SSF zone to a neighborhood business district, to a neighborhood business zone is moving in the wrong direction. It takes away our residential neighbors, adds more traffic, puts more stress on our streets, adds more need for police and fire protection, and harms the neighborhood character of a residential street. Pawtucketville has been before you in the past and is respectfully asking you keep the character of Pawtucketville and do not lessen the SSF zone by increasing an NB zone. Magnolia and Stockbridge are 85% single-family residential homes. When these residents bought their homes, they had an expectation that they bought into a single-family residential neighborhood. There was no expectation that someday that would be taken away and changed. We respectfully ask you deny the zoning change and maintain the character of the suburban single-family zone in Pawtucketville. Thank you, Deb Forgione, Chairman of PCC. That I would close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a few comments on that
Yes.
letter? First of all, as we all know, if a citizens group or organization opposes something vehemently, that they certainly vocalize it and make themselves known and attend these public hearings. This wasn't done in this instance. It was done through this letter, which I would have to say in reading it, Joe sent it over to our office earlier. It's a very generic letter. There's nothing specific in this letter, and I would have to say that with respect to a comment when someone said when they purchased their home in that area, well, if they purchased that home anytime from 1960 on, they would know full well that they purchased it with, knowing full well that there's a neighborhood business district there, and there's a business that the Hamill Brothers was in existence, operating business. We're not going to be increasing any traffic over there since there'll be no deliveries after any
Counselor,
hours.
and I can appreciate your rebuttal. It was kind of read into the minutes. I'd like to hand this over to the board.
Go
And then
right
if we
ahead.
want to have some give and take at that point, that would be fine.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. With that said, I would like to turn this over to the board, and again, certainly would accept any comments, and even by other board members as well. Dick, we'll start with you, if you wouldn't mind.
I've viewed the project. In fact, I've been by it a couple of times, trying to get a flavor for, the situation over there. And in general, my personal reaction is that would be similar to that of Deb Forgione's letter. Just the general encroachment, additional encroachment of business into what is a single-family residential neighborhood. And, where does it end? For example, Mr. Saber mentioned that there's another party that may, in fact, want to do so later. That's strictly hearsay, and we understand that, but, it opens the door further. I'm no dispersions on the Hamills. I'm sure they run a fine business. I don't know them, but, from what I've heard here tonight, they run an excellent business. One minor thing that did disturb me a bit when I saw the site is the condition of the property on the Stockbridge side and the way it's been allowed to deteriorate and become overgrown. I'm sure that's been a source of discomfort, shall we say, for the neighborhood. But just in general terms, I don't feel that the residents of the city or the city itself is served by extending the zone. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Counselor, allow the board members to speak, and then we certainly would be happy to hear from you on that. Bob, anything?
I too have a concern about encroaching into a residential neighborhood continually. Next thing you know, that whole lower piece of Pawtucket Boulevard between forgive me, Lowell General Hospital, Farnham Ave, and that it narrows to that point, that's gonna end up continually to be encroached on before it's gonna become a business area, or it's just gonna drive those houses right out of there. I really I understand what the Hamels are trying to do, and I have no I don't want to disrespect them. I just think it is a dangerous precedent to start eating away at the residential character of that area. I'm not too keen on the idea, especially just for parking.
Anything else, Bob?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Counselor, how many people are currently employed at the business? 14. And after this, how many will be employed after the project? There'll be no change. Okay. My concerns here, I share the concerns voiced by the rest of the board about the problem of encroachment of the business district into the single-family neighborhood. I helped to draw a lot of the lines on the current zoning map. And one of the principles that we used is that something we decided not to do, which is very common on a lot of zoning maps, is we don't like to draw zoning lines down the middle of the street. And the reason we don't like to do that is because people, especially in neighborhoods, experience where they are as a block, and you're going down the street, and it's what's on that street. If what's on each side of the street is incompatible with each other, that's really literally right in your face, as opposed to, we tend to draw these lines along the back, down the middle of the block, so that you'll have something that's on one street, something that's on another street. When I think about this issue of encroachment into a neighborhood, that's really where my mind goes. Is it going to create a situation where there's incompatible uses across the street from each other? Simply the loss of this much land, which was in single family, going to business, this number of residential units being taken away in exchange for this many square feet of business space. That isn't in and of itself so compelling, but the effect it would produce in the neighborhood. And it seems to me that what's being proposed here would result in a automotive commercial use directly across the street from single-family residential use. My concern is really about the map, and whether the map and the shapes of the zoning districts are making sense according to the values that they're supposed to promote. And I don't think that adding an extension along this one stretch of land between these two streets so that there's a business area that sticks up across the street from suburban single-family style homes is desirable according to the intent of the zoning and the goals and the purposes expressed in the zoning ordinance.
Anything else, Mr. Lowell?
The other side of this, we have to take especially in these examples when there's an economic development concern and a neighborhood quality of life, neighborhood character concern, is that we also often have to engage in a balancing act. And what's been presented tonight and what's been presented in the plan is that this will really not produce any real economic development value in terms of the city. We're not going to be getting more jobs out of it. We're not going to be getting more, it doesn't, more of a tax benefit in terms of the production of additional commercial space. So when doing that balancing act, there's really not a lot on the economic development side to balance out any kinds of impacts on the residential neighborhood, at least not in my mind. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Just my comments on this is, and I, you know, I concur, I'm familiar with the Hamill brothers, and I don't think I've ever heard a bad word about the business that you run over there. I haven't. And that's why I wanted to make it clear, even at the outset, is we're not taking a vote here on a particular plan or something that you're looking to do, but what are the effects of the changing of the zoning, extending the zone. And Counselor, I mean, you know, some of the biggest challenges we've had before this board, and even you representing applicants, is the conflicts between business and residential, and that's a delicate balance. And this particular area is a very delicate area. And quite frankly, you know, the people that bought there in 1960, and I go back to 1949, I wasn't born, but that's the generation of my family that is in that area, not immediate, but in that general area, is that that was a pretty contained business area. And the expectation is that stays as a contained business area, and you have a very nice suburban single-family zone that's really delicately placed between, again, one of the largest employers in the city of Lowell and the Pawtucket Boulevard and a small business zone. So when you take a look at that and really weighing what the potential effects are, because we only have to look beyond Hamill Brothers Garage, is what happens if that property is sold? There's other things that can go on in that neighborhood business district. You've been a very good neighbor. Somebody else may not be a very good neighbor. And this isn't about whether it's an approval of you personally or the business. It's really what are the implications to the neighborhood. And I think it's incumbent upon this body to kind of look at those proposals in that manner. So from that perspective, I concur with my fellow board members and the concerns that were raised here this evening. With that, Counsel, if you'd like to add anything.
Part of getting into the discussion about a balancing act, it's just not the numbers itself of what it's going to contribute. It's part of what the city would do with their master plan and talking about neighborhood business and the importance of neighborhood business and promoting neighborhood business. Part of what we're asking this board to do is to reflect on this change right here in promoting neighborhood business. Specifically right here, we have to deal with specifics on this proposal here because we're representing one client. We're representing the Hamill brothers at 149 Pawtucket Boulevard. And to enhance neighborhood business, to enhance this would be a positive recommendation on this, to allow them to continue to operate in the professional manner that they have been doing so for the last 55 years. And like, as you have stated, no one's had a complaint of this business. No one's had a complaint of this family. We don't have anybody here who's a direct abutter protesting or we had a gentleman here who gave his comments and talked glowingly about how well they run their business. So with that being said, I asked the board to look at this in the light that a positive vote promotes a neighborhood business here and allows them to continue to do the things that they do, allows them to continue to clear this lot, to make this lot available to the public all through the summer, all through the activities, which it does. It continues to be a good neighbor. And by a positive recommendation on this, you're allowing them to continue to do that. Again, they're not looking to build back there. They're not looking to put a structure back there. And if that were the case, then you would have a specific plan or proposal. You don't have that. We can't predict the future. We don't have a crystal ball to determine who would be there 30 years down the road. And I can understand your role in trying to think in those terms. But right now, we have one business, one family running it here, looking to protect this area here, to protect the neighborhood, and by doing so, they're a good neighbor. So I understand where you're coming from. It's disappointing, but they'll continue to be a good neighbor.
Counselor, just even for the general public, what's very unique with the zoning changes, just so everybody understands that there's no notification requirement. So it makes it very difficult. A lot of people don't even know this is going on, and it's no reflection of the petitioner. That's just the way it is. But that does become challenging. It's hard to gauge from that perspective because there wasn't any notification that had to go out to abutters. So I think from that perspective, we have to keep that in mind as far as any kind of public input on this. It's really people being diligent as to what's posted in the newspaper, and that makes it a little bit more challenging. But again, I think, appreciate your comments, and I have no doubt the Hamel brothers will do, continue to be a good neighbor. This is not a binding vote. This is a recommendation to the city council. The city council will take the binding vote, and we haven't taken a vote yet this evening, but just as a reminder, again, that the city council would be taking a binding vote on this. And again, bearing in mind the comments here this evening, what is the wish of the body?
Can I just add something?
Sure.
The city council has asked us for a planning opinion, basically, on what is good planning and not. This is no reflection on whose land it is. It's basically what we feel is in the best interest of the city in terms of its land use. So it's really up to the city council to make any determination as to whether or not they deserve to expand their business. I think you've heard what my fellow board members have said about the land use issues. With that, I'll make a recommendation that we recommend to the city council a negative recommendation of not expanding into the single-family zone for this particular business area.
I'd like to second that, and I'd like to in doing so, take the opportunity to just say a brief word about about neighborhood business and the value of neighborhood business in neighborhoods. It is indeed called out in the comprehensive master plan that neighborhood business districts and the businesses therein are a positive for the surrounding neighborhoods and we should encourage these vibrant neighborhood business districts. The vision behind that goal is that having these dense, varied, walkable, pedestrian-oriented neighborhood business districts provide for the quality of life of the nearby residents. They can walk there and buy eggs and orange juice. They can, at a corner store, maybe they can go to a diner. Maybe there's some stores that it provides value, or at least it provides a place to go. I do not believe that in this particular case, an expansion would help to further that vision of neighborhood commercial centers and what they can be for the neighborhood. And that's why I am going to second the motion as made by Mr. Malovich.
Okay, so we have a motion by Bob, and we have a second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? If none, gentlemen, good luck. Do you have a date for the city council?
I believe it's the 19th.
The 19th, is it? Joe, do you have that just?
I checked with Michael Geary this afternoon. It's for January 12th.
January 12th.
Yep.
Okay, January 12th.
Will you be able to have your recommendation by then?
Yes, we should be able to
Yes,
have that.
yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Next item on the agenda. We have a petition for 7379 Varney Street, special permit request. The Lowell Planning Board and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Victor Ganobi seeking special permit and variance approvals on 7379 Varney Street. The proposal is to construct a new three-family residential building without meeting lot side yard setbacks, lot area per dwelling unit, and open space per unit requirements. The proposed project is located in a traditional multifamily TMF zoning district and requires special permit approval under Section 12.1C from the Planning Board and a variance approval from the Zoning Board under Section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. I will say to the petitioner, Mr. Ganobi,
No, it's Timothy.
this evening, we have 4 board members rather than 5. Just want to let you know that you would need all 4 members to vote in favor in order to receive an approval. So if we had a 3-to-1 vote, it would not pass. Typically, when we're in a situation like that, we do give the petitioner the opportunity to request a continuance, or we can go forward with your petition this evening.
Okay, does that, if I continue, I lose the chance to come again, right?
No, if you continue, what would happen is that we would continue it to a meeting in the future when we would hopefully have all 5. If you withdraw it, then we would have to vote whether we would allow you to withdraw it, and that would require you to do a whole new posting of the public hearing. If we continue it, you don't have to do a new posting. We would just set it for another meeting.
No, I'll go ahead with today.
You go forward with it? Okay.
I'll go for it. There's, pictures, should I bring them?
Yes, yeah, see, step forward. Thank you. And if you could please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Timothy Kihiko, and I live at 36 2nd Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm a real estate broker. And a couple of things. I have to say I appreciate this board and the whole process. I didn't know about it. I don't know. You know, I've received letters before, and I didn't even know this whole process. I come from a country where you could practically do everything. There's no order or nothing at all. So you have a single family here, somebody else will build a 3-family, somebody else a 5-family, and nobody asked them. So I really appreciate that. So let me explain a couple of things here, a little bit of background on this property. This property, it's a 4-family right now. It got a big fire on it, all right? So to rebuild it, it would require a lot of resources, a bigger investment to do it. However, the investment is not gonna match the return you're gonna get for the house for one particular reason, and that's parking. There's absolutely no parking on this street. As a matter of fact, I know the property for about 2 years. I tried to rent it out before when I was there, and the rent there was like $700, and there was a lot of turnovers. So tenants would come in, and they would stay there for like 1 year, and then they'll absolutely, either break the lease or go. When I was there, they only had one person that was there, and that's because he was actually paying for a 3-bedroom. They were paying $650. A lot of discount. When we had the worst of the last winter, it was absolutely a big mess over there. You couldn't go up, you couldn't come up on Gold Street. And just for a note, on Mount Washington, I had a girlfriend there, and the whole place is all multifamily. If there's any parking, there's only 2 parking spots. The whole street on Varney Street, only you can count 1, 2, 3, about 8 parking spots for the whole of Valley Street to go over. So this is a very, very big problem over there. So now that the fire happened, right, and they have to redo this, the city allows them to build the same exact four family. It's allowed. 4 family, you can go there and build it right now. It's allowed. However, the same way it is just not good. And having been there and having known the quality of life those people had, the tenants had, and the owner, this is just, it's not a good idea. So this is what I came up with. How about we can build a garage under? All right, there's 4 units. We only put 3 so we can get more space. And then out of the 3, we have 2 parking garage underneath, okay? And that's what I come up with, those plan or how to do that. It's gonna absolutely, better the life of the residents here, and it's gonna, it's gonna make this property being worth the project. The next door property also got on fire. The property started on there. They absolutely have no parking to go up over there, and they're rebuilding it. The same 2 family, they have no way for them to put in any parking, but luckily for us, we're right on this end, and we can build a parking. I only had one picture here that I taken. I didn't know, pass it around, and that's a parking spot. That's the only parking you have. So when you look at the map, that passageway over there, there's really not enough parking. And then you see on the back of the building, this, you could squeeze in like 2 cars over there. So, I'm not gonna keep you long. That's what I have. And, I absolutely expect that you guys gonna vote in favor of that. My key things and my only concern is the parking. I wanna create parking for these people. I wanna have a 3-bedroom, where people can come in there, at least have 2 cars. I'm moving the car from the street and making them, underneath.
Okay, is there anyone else to speak on behalf of the project, or?
No, just
Okay.
me.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to add?
What is it?
Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, nothing else that I wanna add.
Okay, I'll just open up the public hearing to anyone that would like to speak in favor. Anyone in favor? If none, then anyone in opposition? Opposition? None? The portion of the public hearing is closed. I'll open it up to the board members. Nick, if you'd like to start?
Actually, in general terms, I think, this would be a good thing for the neighborhood. I do have some questions and concerns, though. We just today received the plot plan showing, the elevations with the garage, not actually the elevations, but the layout of the driveways and the garages and so forth. And in general terms, I think that those, would be beneficial. I've been over and looked at the site. I would have some concern that these be reviewed by the city engineer prior to us making a decision on them. Like you say, in general terms, I think, it's a good idea, but we don't know definitively at this point whether this meets the engineering requirements of the city. So my first comment would be, if we were to approve it, I would want to, continue. I'd suggest continuing this subject to approval by the city engineer, and then coming back, the city engineer coming back to us with their recommendation and approval. The second thing is, I see this photograph that you showed us, is that another project that you're looking to emulate, or is this the actual project?
Yes, that's another project. It's my friend's house, and I go there. It's a beautiful place. So it's exactly the same idea that I want to have, except that there you only have one car garage underneath. You can park two back to back, but it's not this. But that's the only difference. But it's gonna be just exactly the same.
We, again, I think before, one of the things we would want to see before we, at least from my perspective, before we were to give you approval on the project, to see some actual elevation drawings of what the actual property would look like, and how it would, look on the lot. So, again, in general terms, I think it would be beneficial to the neighborhood. There are a few concerns I would like to see addressed before we were to give you approval.
Am I allowed to say something? Yes. I don't know how the process. Maybe he can explain. But I'm going to meet with other board, and I think with them they'll need to approve. I think it is another board that I have to go to, and then get that approval and stuff like that. This is the beginning of a long process. You guys okay it, then they're gonna have to okay it, then I'm gonna have to have the plan and the city engineer and all of that, and then now they're gonna also have to approve it if it's gonna be okay for them.
You just asked the question, Joe, do you have a date with the other board, the zoning board of appeals? Is there a date?
Yes, it's next Monday.
Next
the
Monday?
11th, yep.
Okay, all right.
May I interject?
Yeah, no, absolutely, go ahead.
If we were to continue, would it be, should we be the first recommendation on this project, and then the ZBA second?
Yes, yep. This board has to act before the ZBA acts. So if you were to continue it to your next meeting, the ZBA would automatically have to continue theirs.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine. Okay. Bob?
I agree that this is going to be a better, it actually reduces the density of the site and creates more open space than there is with the current building. I have a concern about those stairways. I know this house sits up on a plateau, and you're keeping those stairs to go up there,
Yes.
and you're gonna do something to that whole front.
Yes.
But that leads me to a real problem. If you're gonna emulate this particular style, I don't want the end of a building facing the street. I would like to see some architectural configuration that shows that to be a front of a house, or suggests the front view on the street. And that's my really only two concerns.
Good. Anything else, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was going to make a point very similar to what Mr. Malovich just said about the end of the building facing the street.
Okay.
What's there now? It's very clearly the front of a building. It has nice porches. I'd say that's probably the very best thing about the building. It's very clearly, we use the term, it addresses the street. It's not like it's turning its back on the street or turning its shoulder to the street. It's like it's looking directly at the street. Having that sort of design, it's important in our neighborhoods. There was another project recently on Moore Street in the Sacred Heart neighborhood, where the old Sacred Heart Church was. Where the old Sacred Heart School was, directly across the street from the church. If you go up there, they built a bunch of two-families, and they face onto the side street, onto Andrews Street. But the one that's on the corner,
Okay.
yes, the front and the front door are facing towards Andrews Street, but he did some things, for example, extending his porch so that it goes across the front there, putting in a door, putting in an entrance and a walkway that go from the sidewalk to the building, to make it look like not the, the end, the side, like this. Make it look like the front of the building.
Okay.
We would be looking for something similar to that,
Okay.
okay?
I know that I just showed it a week ago, so I know.
You
I
showed
know.
them one of those?
Yes, I'm a real estate broker, so I showed it a week ago, so I know exactly what it is. If I may say, we're not gonna, we're not gonna be changing this one. I don't know if I shared this one. It's actually gonna cost a lot more because of that retaining wall is probably not gonna hold a lot of weight. That's what's there.
Oh.
Obviously, I would, obviously clean it up and stuff like that.
Yep.
And do like a porch like that if you guys recommend that, but it's obviously gonna look way much better than what it is.
Yes.
Definitely.
In terms of a porch or whatever, there's more than one way to solve the problem. You've got it looks like you're using Ahos here. They've got designers. There are different ways, using windows, using a door, using a porch. There are a lot, you've got a lot of options here, and I don't think the board is looking to dictate to you exactly what you do there. We're also cognizant of the scope of the project and its location and concerns about practicality. But this is something that it's really asking you more for thoughtfulness and attention to the problem than really for a big, expensive solution. I think that you can take care of our concerns here in a way that is that is definitely realistic for the project. The basic idea, going up the passageway and having the garages right off of that, I love that idea. It's a great solution here. I'm noticing on your plan, you have a minimum front yard for garage. And, question for staff. Joe, the side facing the passageway, where the garage would be facing, is that a front yard, or is that a side yard?
That's a good question. I think we would consider it a side yard
See-
because it's not a actual street.
See, again, going back to Moore Street, we didn't make them have the setback, the garage doors set back there, and that's because, what we want to encourage is getting those garage doors away from the street and turning them away from the street. I certainly don't think that the city should be applying our very strict front yard requirements for garage doors to side yards and rear yards in neighborhoods, especially in neighborhoods like this. So that is, could actually, I think, should be one load off the petitioner's mind. I have never seen a townhouse with two side-by-side parking spaces. Is that what you're saying you're going to build?
Yes, it's gonna be 26. You can fit two cars like the one I have over there. That's my car. You can fit two, or at least one in front, and then the other ones. But the reason why I want to have two, because I also know it's important to have some grass, and
Yes.
I want to have some grass on the back, a little bit of yard, as you see the other pictures on the back side. That's how I wanted to have it. Just a little bit of grass in between and having the stairs.
So where would the door be? Would you be able to do, like in this picture, you have
Yes.
garage doors and then a human door next to it?
It will be one door. You go in through the garage. Yeah, through the garage door.
Oh, so the garage door would be the only entrance?
Yeah, and then there's obviously the one on the back.
And then there'd be another entrance on the side?
Yeah.
Okay. Or and perhaps for this unit here on the front, actually, instead of the side. So for the unit that faces the street, maybe that second door is facing Varney Street instead of being around the back, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
But, or maybe not, there's options, okay.
There is a door right now, there's a door and a porch right there, you know, so this is, this is something that came up, that, hey, what can we do? But if that would be the case, if you guys says that's a recommendation, that's exactly what we'll do. I could see it clearly. You could put a porch over there, the sliding door and stuff like that. It would be a good unit. The end unit would be really good.
Yes, very nice. Keep in mind that we are talking about front porch as
Yes.
opposed to back porch. Front door as opposed to back door. I mean, the whole purpose here is the word front. We want to make sure this looks like a front and not a back and not a side. So maybe not a sliding glass door. I don't know, maybe you could talk me into it. I think sliding glass door, I think more like the back deck off a house, a back, sun
You
deck,
have it.
more
Yes.
than a front porch.
Yeah, right now you walk in and then there's a door there. And we could have the same thing at least for this end unit.
We are definitely going to have to get elevations and some more detailed plans before we can act on this. Some of this stuff, like the double garage, and then what sort of space will there be down there? Will there be like an entry foyer for people, or just a stairway that goes into a garage? And I'm having a little trouble picturing that, so we're going to need that level of detail in the plans. There's nothing on here about height, about number of stories.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll need to know that.
Yes, that's.
Have you thought about height?
Yeah, I've thought about that. It's not gonna be any higher. It's not gonna be any higher than what the other buildings are. Definitely, that's not gonna be. We wanna make the attic space livable.
Want to make the attic space livable, so are you thinking
Like that property, it's livable. That attic space is livable. Those are the ones on Rogers Street. The attic is livable. You have like the whole unit, and you have the glass thing on top.
Yep.
Just the way this one is. So it's gonna be the same. I mean, we could go and to the engineer and then get the cut design and stuff like that. But we would only go there if if you guys says that, well, this is a viable option, we can go ahead and get those, and get them. It's just that we don't want to go all the way in, you
Right.
know.
Well,
And
I think what you've been hearing, I think you can make up your own mind about the feedback you're getting tonight. I think it sounds pretty positive, and we're talking about the best design options.
yes, in regards to elevation, we're gonna get a lot more space from the front and push it back a little bit, because there's upper hill, and then you'll go in, so we're gonna push it, just a little bit. So we have that, but none of that elevations or anything, none of that will change, at all. It's just gonna be the same exact way it is. Like we're not moving any out or anything, just like that.
Okay, and you had mentioned grass. Something we also are probably going to want is at least a basic landscape plan. Show us what your intentions are, what you're going to grass, what's going to be walkways,
Okay.
that sort of thing, and what, if any, sorts of landscaping, from flowers to shrubs to trees or whatever, you propose to install. Have you been in to talk to anybody at the DPD yet?
No, I haven't talked to.
Okay, That is it's definitely a good idea to go in with them. Those people are not your enemies, those people are your friends. They may make this process easier for you, make your,
Who are the people again?
for instance, Joe Jinowitz here. He is a staffer at the division, at the Department now of Planning and Development.
Oh,
He
yeah,
is-
yeah. No, I've been there. That's how I've come this far. My original plan was very basic, trust me on that.
Okay. Well, good. When you're trying to, when you're talking about coming up with this, these design issues, the design of what you're gonna do with the end, where the windows are gonna be, what you're gonna do with the landscaping, definitely check in with them early. They'll give you good ideas, they'll know what's gonna need to be on there. They can, working with them has a way of making projects that might have required 4 or 5 revisions turn into a project that requires 1 or 2 revisions. So it's definitely worth it for you. Make sure you're talking to them early. And when you do, and when you talk to them about landscaping, an issue I always bring up is street trees. It's very important in our neighborhoods to have a nice tree canopy. Where there is this dramatic change in elevation from the street into that front yard, what that means in terms of the ideal sorts of trees, whether even just a shrub, a rhododendron can fulfill the purpose of a street tree. That's definitely something to bring up. But this dramatic elevation situation you have with the change in grade, with that retaining wall, is a very important, it is like the most important feature in terms of your landscape design. And you're really gonna have to design around that. You know, not just design what you would on a plan if this was a nice flat lot, and then just put it on this lot with the elevation doing what it's gonna do. Design for this lot. That's my advice. And that's what I have. I hope to see this project back here in a more advanced form.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I think just a few comments that I have, I think I agree with everybody here. I think what you're looking to do is really a positive element to the neighborhood. It's a challenge, and I think you spelled it out correctly at first as the challenge with that neighborhood, but you are looking at reducing the units, and you're looking at actually providing some off-street parking, which are two really positive aspects of what you're looking to do here. I would agree with everyone here regarding the fact that it would be helpful for this board, I think, to have additional information with what you're proposing, to comments from the city engineers, from the traffic engineer as well, and the comments from DPD staff, working with them on the design. I think the design will be crucial on this. Just curious, are you building this to be condos that would be sold, or apartments to be rented?
Either or.
Either or,
You know,
okay.
as long as we can have it as a 3 unit, and we rent it out.
I think you have potential both ways here. Yeah.
Either way you will work. If it was for the condo, obviously, there's condos is selling at 200, so it's more taxes for the city.
Right.
So that's a big benefit.
Absolutely.
If anything, like that's even a bigger plus.
And anyone from that neighborhood that's looking to own it would really be a nice, it would be a nice opportunity to own a new home, and with parking, and so I think there's a lot of upside potential here. Having said that, again, given the comments from the board, if we had the discussion, if we do continue it, the understanding was that we'd have to request the continuance. You'd have to request the continuance of the zoning board of appeals,
Okay.
and then come back here based on the what date we would continue the hearing to. And I would, before, and I think we've made our intentions known, we will take a vote, but my question to you is, our next planning board meeting is, I believe, January 21st.
Right, which is a Thursday. The one after that is February 1st.
February 1st. I don't know if there's enough time.
Yes,
You have to work with DPD.
I can, I can make, I can get the design in time. So if I'm understanding you correctly, is that you want a full detailed plan, exact plan, you want me to have now the both engineers in there to look at the whole thing and see how it's gonna be before you guys, decide.
Correct, but would want you to work with DPD so that, you don't want them going forward on something that, at least, I think, Joe, I think you have a good idea of what we're looking to, what features we're looking for.
Yeah, I think I have a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, so, obviously, if you could work with DPD, and then come back with a plan that addresses everything we discussed here this evening. I don't know if in fact January 21st is, we certainly could, you think that would be soon enough to turn that around? Joe, I don't know what, as far as your time to sit with the applicant?
Yeah, we're willing to sit down with the applicant anytime. I think, as the board knows probably from past experience, usually going out a month is usually the best way
Yeah,
to go
because
about it,
I
so you
just
have
don't
an
think we'll
adequate
be able
time
to
to
do it. So
review it.
if we go
Yeah,
February
I'll
1st.
be open to that. The fire started on March. There's an answer they haven't been able to provide because I don't want to do the process and lose the opportunity to build the 4-unit. So the fire's gonna be on March. 1 year anniversary. I think it's on March. So if
I believe that your filing of this application freezes your rights,
okay.
okay? That you've acted within the year. Is that right, Joe?
That sounds right, we could double check that.
Yeah,
That
make sure
sounds
we,
right
yeah.
to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
just make sure for the sake of the applicant, but yeah, I believe you're correct there. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Hey, no problem. I completely appreciate the comment, and it's a lot, obviously, even on my end, to think about and see how it's gonna be cost-wise anyways, and see how it's gonna work out.
Okay, good. So what is the wish of the board at this?
I will,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this petition to, would February 1st be good for you?
February 1st is good.
To our February 1st meeting. And in the meantime, the petitioner worked with the DPD on a design and providing elevations and drawings. They also work on a landscape plan and also seek the review and approval of the city engineer for the parking structures.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Let's continue to February 1st. Good luck work with DPD, and look forward to seeing the plan when you come back.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Joe, do you have any comments from, I know we've been getting some emails from Christine as far as upcoming projects, and just curious on any information coming out of DPD relative to future projects, and then thoughts on that as well.
Sure, as you mentioned, we're gonna try to start to roll out this process where every Monday we give you updates on, the items that are coming up on the very next meeting, but also just to keep you apprised of things that are coming up in the future. As was mentioned before, sometimes you guys get questions about maybe some postings in the paper that have come out and you haven't quite received it yet, so we're trying to give you more of a heads up on that, and get back into the flow of giving you, apprised of the information for these different applications that come in. In terms of other projects, one thing to note, won't be coming in front of this board, but it's had a lot of attention in the past, 43 Market Street. The new owner of that property is going to be going in front of the ZBA on the 25th of January to clean up that building, which has been an eyesore for a little while now, but it'll be a restaurant on the ground floor and then 9 residential units above. So thought the board would want to know about that.
Right, great. Yeah, great, thanks, Joe, and certainly, I know, Dick, you were a proponent in asking if we could get the material sooner, so that's, I think that's a good development from that perspective. Any other comments from any board members? If none, certainly would like to wish the chairman well. He was feeling under the weather, so if anybody tuned in and wondering where he was, we certainly expect him back for the next meeting, and certainly wish everybody a happy new year, and thank you. Good night.